mysteries.
History is often presented as a closed case, a neat timeline of progress. But the physical remains of the past frequently disrupt that narrative, revealing details that have been omitted from the official record. Take the tomb of Qin Huang, China's first emperor. While the Terracotta Army is a global landmark, the central burial chamber remains sealed. Ancient records describe a microcosm of his kingdom inside, complete with flowing rivers of liquid mercury. Modern surveys confirm unusually high mercury levels in the soil, yet the chamber remains untouched and unexplored. The burial of Genghis Khan was handled with even greater severity. To ensure the location vanished, the funeral escort killed every witness they encountered. Legends claim the 2,000 people who attended the funeral were executed, and the soldiers who carried out those executions were themselves killed shortly after. 8 centuries later, the greatest conqueror in history has no traceable grave. In 1890, an anthropologist in Castelnou, France, unearthed human bone fragments from a Bronze Age burial mound. They belonged to an individual estimated to be over 11 feet tall. These findings were verified by anatomy and paleontology experts at the University of Montpellier and sent to the French Academy of Sciences. Then, they simply disappeared from the scientific record. These cases highlight a recurring tension. When physical evidence, whether it is a toxic tomb, an erased burial, or massive biological remains, threatens the established timeline, it is often sealed, classified, or lost to history. Bone fragments are easily misplaced in archives. Architectural anomalies, however, are impossible to hide. Across the globe, massive structures stand as evidence of technologies that officially shouldn't have existed. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey is 11,000 years old. These T-shaped pillars, intricately carved with animals and symbols, were raised long before the invention of the wheel or the discovery of agriculture. For reasons unknown, the original builders chose to deliberately bury the entire temple complex, preserving it under mounds of earth for millennia. In China, the Longyu caves consist of over 20 massive chambers carved into solid siltstone. They feature perfectly flat walls and precise parallel tool marks that look like modern machine grooves. There is no mention of this immense engineering project in any ancient Chinese chronicle, leaving the origins of millions of tons of excavated rock a complete mystery. At Baalbek, Lebanon, the Roman Temple of Jupiter sits on foundation blocks weighing 800 tons each. Nearby, an even larger stone weighing 1,650 tons remains in the quarry. These megaliths dwarf the lifting capacity of any known Roman crane, which typically maxed out at 100 tons. These ruins stand as physical evidence of a forgotten technological era. They suggest ancient builders possessed capabilities that modern academic models have yet to explain. The investigation moves from stone to ink. Beyond the ruins, a paper trail of anomalous documents suggests that ancient civilizations possessed geographic and scientific knowledge contradicting the standard historical timeline. The Codex Gigas is a massive medieval manuscript weighing 75 kilograms. It is famous for its unsettlingly uniform handwriting across all 620 pages, a feat of consistency that led to legends of it being written overnight. It contains a complete Bible alongside medical texts, catalogs of demons, and magic spells, representing a vast, concentrated archive of medieval thought. In 1945, an American pilot flying over China reported seeing a massive, gleaming white pyramid in a remote valley. Satellite images have since identified several large pyramid-like structures in Shaanxi province, some taller than Egypt. Despite the visual evidence, these sites remain classified and are officially described by authorities as simple earthen burial mounds. A contradiction appears on the 1513 Piri race map, compiled from sources dating back to Alexander the Great. It shows South America and, remarkably, an ice-free Antarctica, a continent discovered 3 centuries later, in a geological state unseen for millennia. These records survive as echoes of a geographical and scientific understanding that precedes our official records.
They suggest a deep, sophisticated past that has been largely omitted from modern memory. Sudden erasure is a recurring geological reality. The transition from thriving society to total disappearance can happen in a single generation, leaving only fragments for archaeologists to interpret. This chart shows the archaeological presence of the Clovis people in North America. They were a widespread, advanced hunting culture with sophisticated stone technology. Then, 13,000 years ago, their artifacts suddenly vanish. Evidence of widespread wildfires and cosmic dust found at their sites suggests a sudden cataclysm brought their era to a violent end. Roughly 8,000 years ago, Doggerland was a fertile European heartland connecting Great Britain to the continent, home to prehistoric communities, rivers, and forests. A massive tsunami, triggered by a Norwegian landslide, submerged the entire region, turning an inhabited paradise into the bottom of the North Sea. In Costa Rica, hundreds of stone spheres, some 2 meters in diameter, are the only remnants of a vanished culture. Carved from extremely hard stone with near-perfect roundness, they were created without the use of metal tools or the wheel. The civilization that made them evaporated before the Spanish arrived, leaving no records of their purpose. These disappearances serve as a warning. Civilization is a temporary state, and even widespread cultures are susceptible to total and sudden erasure by the forces of nature. The final phase of the investigation centers on the monuments that actively resist modern explanations of ancient capability. These sites are the physical proof that our ancestors worked on a scale we struggle to replicate. The Kailasa temple in India was not built from the ground up. It was carved out of a single volcanic rock. Craftsmen excavated 400,000 tons of basalt by hand, working from the mountaintop down. Records suggest this massive, intricate structure was completed in just 18 years, a rate of excavation that challenges modern engineering logic. In the Aswan quarries of Egypt, the unfinished obelisk shows the scale of ancient ambition. Carved directly from the bedrock, it would have stood over 40 meters tall and weighed 1,200 tons, equivalent to 200 elephants. A single crack formed during the process, forcing its abandonment and leaving a permanent record of the massive weights the Egyptians intended to move. The loss of the Library of Alexandria represents a catastrophic break in our intellectual lineage. It housed up to 700,000 scrolls, the gathered scientific and philosophical knowledge of the ancient world. Its destruction effectively severed our access to original texts on mathematics and engineering, forcing humanity to rediscover knowledge that had already been mastered. These sites represent more than a loss of architecture. They represent a reset of human capability. We are living in the shadow of a legacy that was systematically dismantled. We are left with artifacts that have no context. Over 130 of these bronze dodecahedrons have been found across Europe. They required sophisticated metal casting skills to produce, yet they are never mentioned in any Roman text. We have the objects, but the knowledge of their function has been entirely erased. The Dead Sea Scrolls were deliberately hidden in remote caves to protect a library of sacred knowledge from destruction during war. They represent an attempt to bypass the filters of history, preserving forbidden or sacred doctrines in the dark, until they were accidentally rediscovered 2 millennia later. Some secrets remain guarded today. Ancient accounts described the Hawara Labyrinth as a subterranean system of 3,000 rooms. In 2008, modern radar confirmed the existence of this massive maze beneath the Egyptian sand. Since that discovery, excavations have been halted, and the findings have been kept out of the public record. The deeper we look, the more the physical evidence diverges from the story we have been taught. We are left with a series of world-altering questions about our origins and our capabilities that remain strictly